Good morning. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the crisis cycle. The crisis cycle is what we all go through when we are faced with some sort of perceived threat of harm or some sort of scenario that scares us, frightens us, maybe a heated argument, things like that. We all go through the crisis cycle. At the very bottom, we've got that baseline phase. At the baseline phase, this is where you are operating at your 100%, whatever your 100% happens to be. When kids are operating at their baseline phase, they have all of their needs met. They can think, they can learn, they can reason, they understand. This is where we get to know kids. This is where we get to know that, hey, they like cars and Xbox and whatever it is about them. This is where we get to know them. This is where relationships are formed, is in the baseline phase. If only we could keep everybody there all the time, it'd be simple, it'd be easy, it'd be boring. Unfortunately, throughout our lives, throughout our days, things change. Things will upset us. Maybe it's a little thing, maybe it's a big thing. This is called that stimulus trigger phase. In that stimulus trigger phase, we need to listen to what the kid is actually telling us. Listen to what the individual is telling us. Sometimes you have to work it out. Sometimes they come in angry and we need to figure out that it's hangry because they didn't get breakfast this morning. A simple question of, hey, what's going on? I can see that you're a little bit frustrated. I see that you're feeling some kind of way this morning. Is there anything that I can do to help you? Who, what, when, where, how questions are wonderful to use in this stage. Sometimes just asking the question is enough to help somebody get calmed down. If it's just checking in with, hey, how's it going? Hey, you're a little frustrated. Did you get some breakfast? Why don't you take a lap before you come into my classroom? Little bitty things, if possible. If we can get that taken care of, they can take that small road down and they can return back to their baseline. The next phase up is the lower escalation phase. In the lower escalation phase, you will start to see a little bit more body movement. You will start to see them getting a little bit more fidgety, a little bit more frustrated. In this phase, sometimes having a fidget is very handy, something that they can focus their energy, their frustrations, their emotions on. If we can offer them some options, 3 options is best, that is tailor-fit to that individual from things that they like about their baseline. This can be anything random that you think of on the fly of, hey, if they like cars, you can come up with, hey, I'm maybe looking to buy a car this weekend. What's something that I should avoid? Anything that you can do to tap into what they like and mold that into them using that part of their brain to keep them calm, to help them return to their baseline. Sometimes it doesn't work out and they move into a higher escalation phase. In that higher escalation phase, what is happening is they are climbing that mountain. The higher we climb that mountain, the deeper we actually dig into our brains. And they are getting closer to that fight, flight, freeze response. The higher they climb, the more adrenaline that their body is producing. They've got a lot more energy. If they've got a lot of energy, we need to meet their energy level and give them something to do with it that is safe. Instead of throwing chairs and bouncing things off of walls, we need to offer them something else to do with some big muscle groups to help keep them calm, to help keep the environment safe and the people in the room safe. You are breaking the chain of behavior in whatever way possible for the safety of everybody in the room. If that works out, they can take that short hike on down. Sometimes it doesn't work out and kids will move right up into the crisis phase. In the crisis phase, you are at the very top of that mountain. You are at the fight, flight, freeze area of your brain. You are all the way down in the brainstem. There is not a lot of thinking. There is not a lot of reasoning. It is all about fight, flight, or freeze. It is said that for every step up that mountain, you temporarily lose 10 IQ points. So you are no longer working with a kid who is operating at 100%. They are operating 40 points down temporarily. And this is all of us. This is why the last time you got into a heated argument with somebody, and the best thing you could come up with was, yeah, well, so's your face. Maybe it was this past week, and oh, yeah, well, the turkey was dry. Those little bitty things, because we can't think in that moment. And then in the hours afterwards, you start to think more about, oh, I should have said this, and I should have said that, and I would have brought up that. We've all gone over arguments and frustrations in our head and try to come up with a better result. And it's easier to do that when you're in a baseline phase, when you're operating at your 100%. You have to think about, at that baseline phase, you are dealing with Dr. Bruce Banner. And at the crisis phase, you are dealing with the Hulk. It's all smash. And sometimes the safest way is to get out of the way. Get out of the environment for the safety of everybody. It is the least amount of interaction necessary for safety. Get out of the way to maintain your safety and the safety of others around you. Once they start to descend off of that mountain into the de-escalation phase, sometimes we need to show them how to calm down. A lot of the kids that we work with are coming off of trauma histories, and they're getting that trauma from places that maybe should be helping them, and they're not getting the help that they need. And so we need to show them how to come off of a high stress situation in a calm manner. Just breathe. Sit and breathe with them. Some people want to be left alone, and that's perfectly fine, unless they have threatened self-harm. We can leave them alone. Maybe it's just, I'm going to sit in the corner and ignore you and not talk at you. So often when people are coming off of that crisis cycle, people will move in and start overloading their brains with information of, hey, we've got 5 more minutes of this, and then, it's Monday, and a couple more weeks until break. And unfortunately, that much talking can sometimes re-trigger them and send them back up that mountain to get a second wind. Cool, calm, and collected. We're going to maintain our calm in all situations so that that kid can be safe. Further down that mountain into that stabilization phase, this is where you're going to have another opportunity to listen to what is going on. This is where you'll have another opportunity to find out what caused them to go through that whole phase. Actively listen to what's going on. Who, what, when, where, why questions. Who, what, when, where, how. Not why. There's too much judgment in why. How can I help you? What's going on? Actively listen to what is going on in their lives to help them maintain their calm. In that post-crisis drain phase, if you've ever adrenaline dumped and you know how much fun that is, it's not any fun. Headache, nauseous, exhausted. The best thing you need is a nap. You need a chance to reset your system. You need an opportunity for your brain to return to homeostasis. We need to calm down. We need to recenter. Observing and supporting that individual in this phase is going to look like, hey, we're going to keep everybody out of their business. Well, why does he get to do that? Because that's what that kid needs in this moment. Oftentimes, kids with past histories of trauma have a ski lift built into the very tip top of that mountain. And depending on the severity of their trauma, that ski lift will scoop them up very low and carry them to the top, sometimes with very little input from themselves. Those kids that seem to make mountains out of molehills, yeah, they maybe aren't at their baseline. Some of those kids are living on the side of that mountain because they're stressed, because of trauma past history, because of all kinds of things. We have a lot of opportunity to intervene, to help support those individuals while they are having a hard time, so that they can continue about their day, so that they can continue to maintain their emotions. That is the crisis cycle.